There once was a wealthy man named John who owned a successful construction company. Despite his success, John had a reputation for cutting corners and exploiting his workers to increase his profits. One day, John was accused of fraud by a former employee who had evidence of his wrongdoing. The evidence was strong, and it was clear that John had committed a crime. However, instead of acknowledging his wrongdoings and facing the consequences of his actions, John's powerful friends and colleagues rallied to his defense. They argued that he was a successful businessman who had made a few mistakes, and that his contributions to the community outweighed any harm he may have caused. They justified John's actions and worked to clear his name, even though it was clear that he had broken the law. In doing so, John's friends and colleagues were ignoring the values of justice and fairness. They were justifying the wicked, and in the process, going against God's teachings. Proverbs 17:15 says, "He that justifieth the wicked, and he that condemneth."
On the contrary, here's an example of he that condemneth the just. There once was a small town where everyone knew each other. One day, a young man named David, who was well liked and respected by his community, was falsely accused of stealing a valuable item from a local store. Despite no evidence of his guilt, the townspeople immediately turned against David and began to condemn him for his alleged crime. The store owner, who was influential in the town, worked to ensure that David was prosecuted for the alleged theft. The judge, who was a close friend of the store owner, found David guilty and sentenced him to prison, even though there was no evidence to support the accusation. In this scenario, the just, represented by David, was condemned unjustly by the townspeople, the store owner, and the judge. Proverbs 17:15 teaches us that God abhors this kind of behavior and that we must strive to uphold justice and fairness in our actions and decisions. It reminds us to avoid condemning the just based on biases, personal interest, or without proper evidence, as it goes against God's values. To conclude, it can be easy to overlook wrongdoing when it is committed by someone we know or respect, but this passage reminds us that doing so is not in line with God's values. Similarly, we must be careful not to unfairly condemn others who have done nothing wrong. This may involve examining our biases and making a conscious effort to treat everyone fairly and justly, regardless of their status or reputation. It is important that we align our actions with our beliefs. Avoid double-mindedness. We should stand up for justice and fairness, even when it is unpopular to do so. We must also hold ourselves accountable for our own behavior and work to avoid justifying or condemning others without proper cause.